Good evening, and welcome along to the show. And what a show it is this evening. We've got two of Northern Ireland's finest bands joining us, Silent Running and the Minnows are going to be here. And we'll be finding out about a brand new TV series on the Yesterday TV channel. It's called Scouting for Toys, so we'll have more on that a little bit later on. But starting things off, we're joined by a young lady who's just made history. She's made the top 6 in the recent Miss World competition. She's also Miss Northern Ireland, and she's got a Miss Europe title as well. Let's find out more because Leitch joins us. How are you?
I'm very well, Robin. How are you?
Very well, thank you. So thank you for joining us. You've been a busy girl recently, haven't you?
I have been very, very busy. I've just returned back from Puerto Rico last month after ending up in the top 6 at Miss World, and I have won Continental Queen title of Miss World Europe.
Wow, so that's a record. Nobody else has done it from Northern Ireland.
Yeah, nobody else has done it in Northern Ireland before, and I think just when I was on that stage and they announced my name in the top 12, I thought, is this actually happening? Like, this can't. I actually had to say to Miss World Poland beside me, she won Miss World, I said to her, is that my name? Did they call me? Like, yes, go. And then I went out and I thought, my word. And then next thing when they called me out for the top 6, the first thing that went through my head was, I have to answer a question here on the stage in front of all the world. What's the question going to be? And I started to panic. But no, do you know what? Such an incredible experience.
What did they ask you? What was the question?
It was, they started off by the two, they mentioned Nelson Mandela.
Right.
And I thought, oh my goodness, what is this question going to be? But it was about, Nelson Mandela had once said that how much Miss World empowers young women. Yeah. And they just had asked me, how have you felt that it has empowered you, this whole experience? So it wasn't too bad, the question, but some of them were tricky enough that the other contestants had to answer, I have to say. But yeah, no, an amazing experience. It has just changed my life completely. And, you know, I never ever thought this time last year that I would be sitting here in front of you on your TV show. Do you know what I mean?
And this is your first TV appearance,
This is my first TV show, yes.
Wow.
So,
you're going well so
it's
far.
crazy. I think you just really have to go out there and just grab every opportunity that comes your way and just make the most of it, you know, and have no regrets. So, yeah, no, when I went out there, I had the opportunity to meet all of these amazing, beautiful women from all over the world. So
what about the Miss Northern Ireland experience then? Was that something you always wanted to do?
It was something that I had always followed for a long time on social media, and it was when Catherine Walker had put up a post. It was maybe a couple of weeks before I had applied, and I thought, she's quite like me. She's a paediatric nurse. I'm a teacher. We sort of work in the within the public sector. And I thought, well, if she can do it as a nurse, I think I can do it. Yeah. And so it was just that one evening I decided, right, I'm going to go on here, I'm going to do this application form. And I did, and I got through to the heat and then through, obviously, to the final and became Miss Northern Ireland. So, you know,
what was that like on the final night? How did you feel when they called out your name and said, you're now Miss Northern Ireland?
I didn't think it was ever going to happen, to be honest. I think with me, I don't like to put an awful lot of pressure on myself. And so I did Miss Northern Ireland final, I went off to Miss World, you know, just thinking to myself, right, I'm just going to enjoy this experience. Not every girl in the world gets this opportunity, and there are many that would really want that opportunity, but they don't get the chance. So I wanted to make the absolute most of it, and I just wanted to enjoy every minute. And as Victoria Withers from ACA Models and Alison Clark herself told me before I went, lap it all up, Anna. Yeah. Just enjoy the experience and don't put any pressure on yourself to get to a certain stage within the competition. And that's what I did. And I think that's part of the reason why I did end up winning Miss Northern Ireland, as well as doing so well at Miss World, was because I just enjoyed it, and I was just myself throughout the whole competition. So
what are plans for the future then? Are you continuing with the teaching?
I am. Yeah. I have taught full time this whole year, being Miss Northern Ireland, 5 days a week, travelling to Cookstown from Lisburn every day. So it's been very busy, it's been hectic. But
and you're still smiling.
I'm still smiling, yes. I know, funny, I went to the dentist the other day and I managed to lock my jaw, and he said to me, and he says, maybe just try not to open your mouth as wide. And I said, it's very hard when you're doing all this smiling all the time, you know, because I said, I'm constantly smiling, do you know that? But It's been such a great experience. I've loved it. And, you know, my job is so important to me. That's my biggest passion is, you know, to look out for those children who are suffering from mental health.
Yeah.
You know, and that is a big thing across many schools in Northern Ireland at the moment. Do you see, when I went back to school after the lockdown, not even myself, but many teachers saw the impact that it has had on our young people. And I think that is why a lot of schools now are reaching out to a lot of mental health charities in Northern Ireland. We have Aware NI working in our school now, doing a lot of mindfulness programs with our older children in Key Stage 2, and hopefully now with our younger kids, because a lot of people wouldn't think that kids as young as 4 and 5 have, you know, poor mental health. But actually that is a big thing. I've had so many kids this year coming into school with, you know, separation anxiety, you know, with their mum. They don't want to leave their mum behind when they're coming into school. And still, to this point in the year, in April, you know, there's still children, they haven't got over that, that separation anxiety. And it's really horrendous to see, and I think we really need to be doing so much more for our children's mental health in schools. So Aware and I have been amazing. I'm now hopefully going to get to do a mindfulness course over the course of 6 weeks at the end of this month, which I'm really, really excited about, just to even develop my own knowledge and understanding of it, and, you know, to be able to find out different, I mean, already I know various coping mechanisms to help our children overcome those barriers, but, you know, you can never stop learning.
Exactly.
You know, you never stop learning, so I just want to get in there and I just want to learn so much more about it. And Aware NI has been brilliant for that, I have to say. So, yeah, no, I'm still going to carry on teaching. Maybe might go down part-time in September.
Okay.
Just because I think with Miss World now, there is hopefully an opportunity for me to travel with the Miss World team and do maybe a bit of humanitarian work with Miss World herself and the other continental queens. So yeah, I'm thinking that's just in the pipeline. Hopefully, maybe go down to part-time. It would give me just a wee bit more flexibility. I think I can always go back to teaching, and I love teaching. But I think this opportunity only comes around very, very seldomly. You know, I mean, it's not every day that you can sit here and wear a Miss World Europe sash.
Exactly,
you know, so I think now is the time for me to do that. And as I say, I can always go back to full-time teaching when I want to.
Would you like to do some TV? Because on your first TV debut today, you've been good.
Oh, thanks. Thank you very much. Yes, well, I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind it. Could give you a run for your money, Robin.
Let's hope so. Anna, it's been great talking to you.
Thank you very
so
much, Robin, for
coming
having
in.
me.
And enjoy the rest of your run as Miss Northern Ireland.
I will. Thank you very much for having me, Robin.
Brilliant. Now, as you know, I worked on the Miss Northern Ireland show for many, many years, so we have got an archive full of Miss Northern Ireland stuff. So what we'll do now, we'll get all nostalgic and we'll take a look back at some of the best bits from Miss Northern Ireland over the years. Some scary hairstyles from me alone in this. Have a look at this. How did you feel when you were standing backstage and they called out your name?
Oh, couldn't believe it. I think all the girls, we were all clasping hands, and suddenly my name was called out and thought, me?
And I won, and the next thing I remember, I met Bill Neely, who was then working as a BBC Cub reporter. Now he's in, you know, America with one of those huge news stations there, and worked for Sky and all the rest or whatever. But Bill was working for BBC Radio Ulster as a news reporter, and he was, "Hi, how does it feel to be the new Miss Northern Ireland?" And to me, you know, it was all a dream. It was all, you know, woo, yeah. So I remember I had to stay in the Europa that night, and a breakfast in bed, PR shot the next day, and all the rest. I had to phone the manager of the Ulster Bank that I worked for then, Wesley Parker, in Waring Street, and say, "I just won Miss Northern Ireland last night. I can't get into work immediately. Maybe I'll get there later." And he said, "Oh, have the day off or whatever."
We're here in the Europa Hotel for the grand final of the Junction 1 Sunday World Miss Northern Ireland 2006 contest.
Do you want to tell me about the weekend? What's it been like so far?
The weekend has been absolutely fantastic so far. All the girls have been great and everybody's getting on really well. The rehearsing's going great, so I'm just have to look forward to tomorrow night now. It's been pretty hectic today, but so far it's all going good.
This, believe it or not, is the 20th year I've organised Miss Northern Ireland. I feel as if it's about the 100th tonight, but it still makes me really nervous and everything trying to organise it. But I think it'll all go well. The girls are a great bunch. They've done quite a lot of protocols beforehand and they've had quite a lot of training beforehand, which certainly helps when it comes to rehearsals because they're a little bit more professional.
So now I'm joined with the gorgeous Christine Bleakley, who's hosting the event tonight. So how are you, Christine?
I'm feeling a bit nervous, I think. I mean, I know there's a lot of nerves in here because the girls are feeling it, but it's a big evening, you know, from everybody's point of view, I guess. There's a lot of work has been put into it over the past, or the couple of months leading up to it. So, yeah, it's got the script earlier on today, so there's a lot to absorb. But anyway, I'm sure it'll all be fine.
How many years is it since you won the title?
I shouldn't really admit this, but you know, I'm proud of being Miss Northern Ireland 1999. It's like all those years ago, but you know.
So what's your memories of the big night?
It was amazing backstage. I mean, I entered it because I just wanted to meet loads of girls and have loads of fun, and that's exactly what happened.
I can't believe it. I'm so shocked. I'd just like to say thank you to everyone.
Did you used to watch the kind of Miss World contests and stuff on TV?
Yes, definitely, but I don't think you could ever imagine yourself being part of anything like this competition. It's been amazing.
Now, my next guest has been described as James Taylor meets John Prine in a second-hand bookshop. I love that phrase. He's back with a new album called Emperor. It is the one and only Anthony Toner. How are you, sir?
I'm terrific. All the better for seeing you.
Good to have you here, and good to have live music back in the studio as well.
I know. I was chatting to someone the other night. They said, you know, it feels like it's been a million years ago, and it feels like only yesterday that we're all out gigging. Time has started to kind of telescope a little bit, you know. But yeah, it's lovely. It's great to be active again.
So how did you find the whole pandemic? Because you kept busy because you released that great album about East Belfast, didn't you?
I did. I was lucky enough to have that, you know, kind of going into the pandemic. I'd been commissioned by East Side Partnership. I already had the song 6 Inches of Water about the Templemore baths, and they had kind of gently commissioned me and said if you could do an album of those, we would get behind that. So I had a writing project and I had a few pounds. So it was good. The first lockdown was almost completely non-productive. It was very odd.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people had that. They thought, I'm going to have all this free time now to write and get creative projects finished, and nothing happened.
Yeah.
We all just gardened, you know, and baked, and, you know, and kind of sat out in the sun. And then do you remember we had a kind of lift, and then there was a second lockdown, and in that one, I couldn't stop. Every time I picked the guitar up, I had a new idea, for which I'm very, very grateful. So I found it really, really good. It was terrible not to have income and not to be sociable and not to have gigs to go to and so on. But I did find it creatively very productive. And as a result, there's an enormous pile of new songs for another album, which I'm hoping to bring out hopefully August.
Yeah. And you're still recording with our good friend Clive Culbertson.
Cosmic
Clive, yeah.
Yeah, well, I couldn't really think of going anywhere else. He and I have built this kind of special relationship. It's been 20 years now,
wow.
You know? Because the first album, I was still quite young when I put that out. Well, young comparatively. And then there was a gap, and then the Sky for Every Day album with Sailortown came out, which is about 12 years ago.
Wow, yeah.
But there was a 6 or 7 year gap between the first and the second album, so it's been a long time. And the studio's great, his ears are still great, and we just have a lot of fun. We have a good kind of relationship in terms of what we think the song needs and what works and what doesn't, so that's always very useful.
And you're from that part of the world, aren't you?
I am originally born and bred, yeah. And I moved up to Belfast. My wife Andrea and I moved up to Belfast about 11 years ago, living over in Sydenham. And we love it, but all my kind of cousins and friends and people I worked with for years are all still in the North Coast, so I'm up and down there, you know, every couple of weeks to see everyone.
And you did the whole journalism thing for many years as well, didn't you?
I did. It was about 16 or 17 years in local weekly newspapers.
I enjoyed it when I did the experience in the local weeklies, because obviously I did the Ulster Star in Lisburn for many years as well. It's good fun, isn't it?
It is. Well, we would have been stablemates, because I was with Morton's. I was with the Times, first in Antrim and then in Coleraine when they opened the new paper. But yeah, you kind of, it's funny because you become an observer of the community, but you're also kind of part of it. People rely on you for help. But you also get to kind of see things happening almost in real time, you know, because you and I knew all the stories before the paper came out, you know, so you feel kind of slightly privileged to have the inside track on it.
And I used to love it when people would just wander in off the street to sit down and tell you a story.
Yeah, I know.
You didn't ask for it, but
or the fact that you couldn't just go out for a pint, but somebody would say, "Here, I have a story for you."
Yeah.
You know, when you think, "I'm just out for dinner," you know. But no, it was great. And lifelong friendships as well, you know. I mean, just really interesting, creative people.
Yeah.
And crazies, a lot of crazy people.
Oh, of course, of course. Let's talk about the new album, Emperor. This is a lot of your old songs.
It is.
But kind of stripped back and reworked, isn't it?
This had a slightly strange genesis, Robin, because I initially had, I mean, one of the things that I've been thinking for the last few years is that I wanted to kind of expand my territory and play, you know, the folk club scene in Scotland and England and places like that. And I thought, most of my albums have drums and horns and strings and things on them. And I thought I should really do something that's completely acoustic. So I had recorded this almost as a promotional item that I could send out to a lot of those venues and promoters. And then my wife heard a couple of tracks and she said, "You'd be mad not to put this out as an actual album." So I ended up doing that. And reaction has been really, really good. It's kind of what I would call favourite songs from the back catalogue. And there's a few songs in there that I wanted to revisit, you know, Boy Struck by Lightning, and I always thought that was that song deserved a bit more attention. Yeah. So I re-recorded them all really quietly, just with the guitar and the voice. And as I say, people have really reacted to it. They're saying they're hearing the songs almost kind of anew, and that's always good.
The one song you'll never get away from is Sailor Town.
Of course, yes. How could I forget?
I remember the first time I heard it, like many people, it was our good friend Jerry Anderson who played it on his radio show. And I mean, that's how the song took off for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Jerry was so helpful and so encouraging, and he had such a huge audience that when he featured you at all, either playing the record or having you in on those Friday morning live sessions, you could just see the needle starting to turn. You know, it made a huge difference. And for me, that one song, to this day, I'd still put it all back to that one song and that one broadcaster, because his championing of that song kind of, people then started to say, "Would you come and play at our festival? Would you open for so-and-so?" And I began to get work. And since then, the last 11 or 12 years for me, really, I've been trying to keep that momentum going.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, you've got the guitar there.
I apparently do, yes.
And I hope if I say, "Can I have a request, please? Will you do Sailor Town?" Since we've spoken about it, you're going to say yes.
I'd be delighted to.
Thank you.
So, me and Elaine, we've been hanging around in what was once Sailor Town, drinking cheap red wine by the light of the Belfast moon. There's nobody left here that works at the docks. It's all urban renewal and apartment blocks. Summer is fading, winter will be coming soon. The walls in the city have a lot to say about the UVF and the IRA. It's cold by the river, but the sky is full of stars. But these walls say nothing about who I am when I'm singing in the garden at the Rotterdam, doing Brown-Eyed Girl and whiskey in the jar. And I know they're tearing it down street by street. Look out below, there goes the ground beneath your feet. Elaine's mother thinks I'm some kind of crook. She meets me at the door with a dirty look. My welcome round there has started to wear thin. 'Cause I promised everybody I would knuckle down, but my grades weren't good enough this time round. All my time runs out in the end. And I know they're tearing it down street by street. knows the ground beneath your feet. Me, I can't wait to be rid of school, but Elaine's got a place at Liverpool. By the time September comes, she'll be gone. And she says she'll text me every day, but that's something she feels she has to say. She'll call me once at Christmas, then move on. Me and Elaine, we've been hanging around in what was once Sailor Town.
So do you know what I'm dying to know? Whatever happened to Elaine?
Oh, Elaine. Well, the hard truth is that it's almost entirely fictional.
Wow, really?
Well, there were, I wrote the song after doing a gig with the Ronnie Greer Blues Band, a very early gig with them in the Rotterdam. And it was late summer, and I remember looking out from the Rotterdam onto the Clarendon dock, and there were loads of kids outside with little Spanish guitars and bottles of wine and everything. And I remember thinking, it's that time of year when they're all going to be going their separate ways. You know, some of them are going to go to university, some of them are going back to repeat A-levels or do A-levels, and some of them are going to go out into the world of work. And that sense of young people at that age about to kind of, you know, they're all going to split. So that was the kind of the sense of the song. And there were other things that were in my head, the Rotterdam especially, the kind of the history around that whole area. And there's a wonderful poet from Sailortown called John Campbell.
Who I think I met once, because Jerry used to read his poems out on the radio all the time.
They really lend themselves to being read aloud. And he had a collection that Blackstaff put out years ago called Saturday Night in York Street. And I'd always loved them. And they were kind of in my head around that whole time as well. So the whole thing kind of, it all became part of where the song came from. But there's no specific Elaine, unfortunately. We'll have to find one.
We'll have to find an Elaine, won't we?
We'll have to crown her Elaine from Sailortown. You know?
So Sailortown's on the new album. What else is on this then?
Well, it's a collection of I suppose it's almost like a best of, because it's on there, and Cousins at Funerals is on there. You know, The Road to 5 Mile Town is on there. Well, well, well. But there's also there's a few songs that from my own back catalogue that I quite liked, and I thought either I didn't really like the way I'd recorded them years ago, or I thought they deserved another look. So there's a couple of things on there, like there's a song called Grateful, Boy Struck by Lightning, and things like that. So it's a little personal collection. I wanted to make sure that there were things on there that people could relate to, like Sailortown, you know, but that there will always be some new things for them as well.
You got some live dates coming up as well, haven't you?
I do. I'm delighted to say that actually live dates, even over the last 2 or 3 days, have really started to fly in for the later part of the year, from September through to Christmas. I'm lucky enough to have about 3 weeks with Barbara Dixon in November.
She's a great lady.
She's a fantastic person and a really good friend, actually. We've really become good friends over the last few years, and it's a fun show to do. I go on and do about half an hour, and then I'm invited on at the end to do a duet with Barbara Dixon.
Wow.
I have to pinch myself, you know, it's just great. But they're very fun people to be around. So that's in November, and we're all up and down the UK. But from September, October, and even into December when I come back, I'm going to have gigs all around Northern Ireland. I mean, everywhere from Enniskillen, Lisburn, Ballymena, Portstewart. Yeah, and so I'm in the process of putting them all onto my website so everybody can have a look.
Brilliant. Well, we'll check that out. Right, the album is out now. I'm going to get you to do another one before you go. What are you going to do for us this time?
I'm going to do a song called Exit Wounds. It's actually a recitation.
Right.
More, you know, in keeping, we were talking about John Campbell. Let's have one of those. So this was something that I had kind of almost written as a monologue in the car. Actually, I'd kind of come up with these lyrics, and then I found this little piece of music to put to it, but I don't really sing, I just talk. So this is called Exit Wounds.
Brilliant, Anthony. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be back with you.
Thank you.
friend's dad had this pistol, and he kept it in a bedroom drawer. Now this was life during peacetime. I don't even know what he had it for. It wasn't even in a holster or any kind of presentation box. It was just lying in this drawer between his underpants and socks. Now he checked the safety catch and he squared up like a man, and then he told me it was loaded and he placed it in my hand. My friend had seen this all before, and he sat at the foot of the bed. He knew when his dad was on the rum and coke, it would sometimes turn his head. Now, I'd seen 1,000 guns on TV, held by cowboys and detectives, but this was real and black and heavy, much more serious than expected. But I pointed it at the wardrobe and I practiced looking grim, and then I waved it at the curtains and gladly gave it back to him. His wife was absolutely furious when she found out what he'd done. I mean, come on, a grown man and two 12-year-olds in a bedroom with a loaded gun. She knew better than he did how teenage minds unfold, how if you hold a loaded gun, it's something you never quite unhold. But my friend and me grew up loaded, with our safeties mostly on, and it's strange to think that the father and the pistol are both gone. The underpants in the drawer, even the bedroom we stood in. The bullets and the trigger and the firing pin. And in this country full of exit wounds and heartaches by the ton, to this day that's still the only time I ever held a gun.
Now, time for some fabulous new music, and Silent Running are back with a new song called Darkest Hour, and here is the music video. So that's a track called Darkest Hour from Silent Running. They're back with their first album in around 33 years, I think it is. Let's find out more because lead singer Peter Gamble joins us in the studio. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for joining us. So before we talk about the new album, tell us about that song Darkest Hour, because that's raising money for charity at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, so we brought an album out, and just with current events, we have a single out as well, but we thought, what could we do to make a difference? And that song, it's not a political song in any way, but the sort of tone of the lyrics kind of seemed to suit the emotion of the times we're in. And we thought, what could we do? So we've teamed up with the British Red Cross, And we've put the song up on a site called Bandcamp for people to download, and all the profits will be going to the British Red Cross for their Ukrainian appeal.
Brilliant. Okay, so you've got the new album out as well. It's taken 33 years since the last one. Why is it taking so long?
Just takes me a while to write songs, you know. Actually, no, to be honest, we had no plans to come back. It was just, it was really just happened by accident. We got up and played at a party for a bit of fun, and I think it just lit a fire again in all of us. And we thought, let's start rehearsing. When we started rehearsing, we thought, what are we rehearsing for? Should we try and play a show? And we discovered a Facebook group for silent running, which we didn't know existed, and there was fans all over the world actually, and a few of them actually got on a plane, came to see us from Scotland and England and different places. So we did the show. When we were doing the show, I wanted to write a song, really because I wanted to write something about my life now rather than what it was like 30 years ago. And we did that and recorded it, and I just kept writing songs, and we just thought, oh, now we've got an album here. And we thought, we've got some fans, why not give them a record?
Yeah, let's take you back to 1983, because that was a big year for you. You signed with EMI Records back then, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. It was quite strange actually, because we hadn't done an awful lot. We just won, everybody did, played a few clubs. We were very fortunate. We met a DJ at the time, Peter Powell, who we gave a tape to, and he gave us a couple of sessions, and then we actually did a little demo single that we only did 300 copies of, and he used to have this, I think it was called Stars of 45 or something. Anyway, he played our song, but beside like Michael Jackson or something, which we all found hysterically funny. But EMI heard it, and they rang up and said, "What a record, dude?"
Wow.
And we said, "Yes, please."
Yeah.
We had a manager and we did a bit of hard work, but that's essentially how we got the deal. Peter Powell played it on the Radio 1, and the record companies just heard it and got a couple of offers. So.
You ended up doing some big gigs as well. There was support with Simple Minds and bands like that, wasn't there?
Yeah, did quite a lot of support work to try and get exposure to large audiences, and I suppose learn our stagecraft as well. Robert Palmer was the first one. That was a great experience. I mean, he was a singing idol of mine, so he was amazing. And yeah, Simple Minds, The Alarm in America. We toured with Talk Talk all over Europe.
Wow.
And probably one of my favourites was Little Steven from Springsteen's band. We toured with him as well, and he was a Springsteen fan, so that was a great experience. So yeah, we did a lot of that, and then in between we did the hard yards ourselves, slugging around.
Yeah.
Trying to get somewhere.
So how did it all end then? Why did it all end?
Partly age, I suppose. We all just got a bit older, and the usual thing of some people want to settle down, and we just thought, look, we've had a great ride. I was doing it from I was 18 to about 33 or something, so we just thought it was time to, you know, do what everybody does and settle down and be able to have a mortgage and all those sorts of horrible things. And that was really it. There wasn't any great fallout or anything like that. We just thought we'd had a great time. We made 2 albums in America as well for Atlantic Records, and recorded in brilliant studios, and we just thought we've had a great ride, and let's knock it on the head before you end up, you know, having to do stuff you didn't want to do.
Yeah, yeah. So is this just fun now for you?
Well, it's supposed to be, but we're all still obsessed like little boys, and you know, I'm particularly obsessed with it, but it is principally fun. That's the objective. It was really just to have fun. Discovering we had fans and stuff was a real buzz, but principally we did it because we like playing music together and we're still friends. And we just thought, let's have a bit of fun with it. And actually, it's nice not having any pressure on you. We like the fact we're doing everything ourselves. We produced the album ourselves, and we're controlling everything ourselves, and that is quite liberating, because I think sometimes in the past with record companies, they do tend to want to put you in a box. And maybe if you work with producers, you end up making the producer's record the way he sees you rather than the way you see you. So we just thought, if we're going to come back, let's just do it all ourselves and have a bit of crack.
Yeah. All right. You've got the gig coming up in Voodoo as well?
We have, on the 29th of April. Yep, we're playing in Voodoo, and we've sold tickets in Germany and Italy, would you believe it?
Wow.
England, Scotland, Southern Ireland. Yeah, it's crazy.
So get them now while you can, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's a big surprise, but principally it's about having fun.
Brilliant. All right, we're going to finish off by playing the new song, Beyond Your Wildest Dreams. What's the story behind this one?
Do you know the way we're all locked down for a long time and couldn't go anywhere, and life's pressures get on top of you? Well, normally you think, escape, jump on a plane and run away to somewhere nice and forget about all the pressures of life. Well, you couldn't do it, so hence that song.
Brilliant. We'll hear it now. Thank you so much for coming
Not
in.
at all. Thanks very much.
So here is A Silent Running and Beyond Your Wildest Dreams.
of my life. Well, there's a song in my head spinning around tonight. Life's an ultimate game, one breath and you start. You need a devil-proof soul and a bulletproof heart. There's a song in my head spinning around tonight. So run, baby, let's run. Baby, run away with me. Let's run till we touch the stars, cross the seven seas. Beyond your wildest dreams. Beyond your wildest dreams. Come on, live them all with me. I wanna mine your heart.
Fabulous new song from Silent Running, and I'm looking forward to their gig in Voodoo on the 29th of April. Now, still to come, some more local music. The Minnows are going to be with us. We'll be playing their new song. But before all that, let's find out about a brand new TV show, which is currently running on the Yesterday TV channel. And if you happen to have any old toys lying around your attic, go and take a look at them, because they might be worth a lot of money. That's what the new TV series, Scouting for Toys, is all about. And here's what happened when I met the producer and one of the guys involved in the TV show.
Welcome to Vectis, one of the world's largest toy auctioneers,
It's like playing in adult form.
Got him. Where some of the foremost experts in the toy world assess treasured collections before they go under the hammer.
Is that supposed to be Sean Connery? Oh, it doesn't look like it.
Discover one-of-a-kind collectibles.
Beautiful, it's a rare piece.
Sought by passionate enthusiasts
£1,500.
to rekindle childhood memories.
Gosh, it's my absolute dream to own this piece.
So let's find out about this brand new TV series, Scouting for Toys, because the show's producer, Kirk Barber, joins us on the line. Kirk, how are you?
I'm good, Robin. How are you?
Very well, thank you. So tell us about this new series then. How did all this come about?
Well, it's been something that's been sort of in gestation for a long time, as these projects often are. But it's I don't know. We kind of looked around for, there's been so many auction type programs that are on TV, but nobody had ever done toys before. So we thought, what an amazing kind of area to kind of get into. So we really wanted to kind of create a show which really took people on a kind of nostalgic trip down memory lane, which would get people kind of looking in their loft, looking in their cupboards for kind of old and long lost toys. And yeah, it really came out from there. We went up to kind of Vectis in Teesside, where it's an industrial estate, and it's really, you don't expect it looking from the outside. It just looks like an old warehouse, but it's the world's largest specialist toy auction house. And as soon as you walk in, you're just greeted by kind of rows and rows of toys from across the ages, whether it's little trains, Matchbox, dinky cars, Star Wars figures, you name it. If it can be played with, it's on. It's been put through for auction. So it was just a kind of no-brainer, really, when we went up there and saw kind of what was going on, and then some of the eye-watering amounts some of the toys were going for. We thought, yeah, this will be a great TV show.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned Star Wars there, because being a child of the 1980s, I think I had every one of the Star Wars toys from way back then. So are these toys worth a lot of money today then?
Well, have you kept any, Robin? That's the question. Yes, they are. And what you get, there's some standard figures. If you've got them in boxes, even if they were really popular ones at the time, and there's lots in circulation, you can still get £100-150 for. But it's some of the real rarities, ones that were kind of made in Australia, or ones which may have had production defects, for instance, or ones for some reason which were painted in an incorrect colour. They're the ones that really appeal to collectors, to the serious collectors, and they're the ones that can go for 5, 7, 8, 10, 12,000. These are the sort of figures we feature in the show.
Now, I'm going to show you something pretty impressive now, because I have a replica Jabba the Hutt figure from Return of the Jedi. Apparently there was only 5,000 of these made. It's got the gold plate from George Lucas on it as well, and his belly, Jabba the Hutt's belly, is actually signed by the guy who was inside him in the movie. I'm going to reach over here and grab hold of him. And he's really quite heavy, But here he is, Jabba the Hutt. Do you reckon this is worth a lot of money then?
That's incredible. Well, I didn't, of all the toys, of all the thousands of Star Wars toys I saw go through in the series, I didn't see a replica Jabba the Hutt, so that truly is impressive. One of the things I did learn on the show is that sometimes when things are made as collector pieces or as unlimited runs, sometimes because everybody decides to buy them and look after them, it then sort of long-term might reduce the value because there's so many in circulation. But certainly we did feature a lot of Star Wars memorabilia in the show, you know, where it's film cells that have been signed by particular actors, because obviously the Star Wars the fan community was very active with conventions and actors turning up to all these sort of places. So yeah, there's absolutely a value and a market for them. But you know, as what I discovered in the series is basically there will be someone somewhere will want to buy whatever toy you might have tucked away in your loft in whatever condition it is. You might not get vast amounts at auction. Some do, obviously, if they're particularly rare, but such as the way toy collecting is, there's so many people who just will pay money to get toys that are no longer wanted. So, you know, anybody watching the show really wants to kind of, you know, be looking in the cupboards and looking in the loft because you just don't know what hidden gems might have been put in there.
So people start finding things at home, and maybe they want to find out the value of them and then eventually go on to sell them. How do they go about doing that?
Contact the auction house because they have at Vectis in the series we filmed with, they've got a team of 10 experts. Each has their own area of expertise, whether it be Matchbox cars or at Vectis there is literally someone whose job it is to be a Star Wars toy expert who we feature obviously quite prominently in the series. So that's his job, that's what he does. But when we were filming there, people would just turn up, you know, people would turn up in the car and open the boots, and they'd have sometimes just, you know, often it might be deceased, you know, someone in their family's died and they've been left with all this stuff. They don't know anything about it. They look in the boot and there's all these teddy bears or Star Wars figures, and some of them might be worth not much. Sometimes there might be something in there that's worth £5,000-10,000. You just don't know. But I would just say, look, send it to auction and see what happens.
Well, do you know what? I'm going up to the attic now to see what else I can find. So tell us about the new series then, Scouting for Toys. Where and when can we watch it?
Okay, it's going to be for the next 10 weeks, every Thursday, 9 p.m. on Yesterday channel. And if you miss any, you can watch it and catch up on UK TV Play.
Well, Kirk, it's been great talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
No problem. Thanks, Robin.
So from Star Wars, we're going to move on to talking about toy cars now. And Julian Royse is an auctioneer at Vectis, and he joins us now on the line as well. So Julian, when I was a child, I had hundreds of toy cars. I got rid of them. So did I make a big mistake in doing that?
You fool. You shouldn't have done that at all. You should have kept them all. But of course, the first thing you did wrong was actually play with them. As far as collectors are concerned, it's not the absolute kiss of death by any stretch of the imagination. We sell toys in every single imaginable condition. But for a top collector, they're looking for toys that have never been played with their original packaging, with all their original accessories, instruction leaflets, whatever came with the toy when it was brand new when you bought it out of the toy shop. That's what's crucial as far as value is concerned.
So if people are looking to sell things from their childhood, is it the older toys then that are the most valuable these days?
Yeah, not necessarily. Toy collecting is generational. It's nostalgia. That's the primary driver that brings everybody into collecting toys. So people collect toys that they remember from their childhood. So toys tend to acquire value in about a 25-year cycle. So you played with the toys up to sort of 5, 10, maybe 12 years old. Then you've gone off in life, you've maybe had a family, you've become a little bit successful, you have a little bit more disposable income, the mortgage isn't crippling you like it was, you know, at the start. So when people have a little bit of disposable income, that's when they kind of rediscover the toys. So they do work in that cycle, but toys do wax and wane. To give you an example, toys from the 1930s, so pre-World War II, are now quite difficult to sell in the sale room if they're played with. You know, just like you mentioned with your Matchbox toys. So the guys who played with those toys in the 1930s, they're a contracting market. Every single year, unfortunately, there's less and less of them. We're all on that conveyor belt of life, aren't we, Robin? And we all fall off it at some point. So, you know, that collecting demographic is shrinking for toys from that period. And it's also shrinking for toys from the 1950s period. But once we get to the 1970s, 1980s, wow, that's where it's just jumping up in price and surprising us, you know, in the sale room, let alone other collectors.
Now up in the attic I have some cars from the James Bond movies. Sadly I don't have the original boxes that they came in, but I know I do have the yellow Citroen from For Your Eyes Only. So is that worth something?
It is. If it hadn't been played with, but it had no packaging, it would be worth, it's quite a common one actually, unfortunately, Robin, it'd be worth about £15, maybe £20 as a really nice clean one. But you add the box to it. They do two different types of boxes. They do a clear view window box, which has a backing card on the back that illustrates the model. And they do like a lift-off box, like a display box, which has got lots of little bullet holes in it. Yep. Out of those two boxes, I would say the window box is harder to find, funnily enough. So in the display box, be worth about £50. In a see-through window box would be worth maybe £70 or £80, but you pick quite a common one. If you looked at the actual, well, I probably used the wrong word there because it's supply and demand at the end of the day. As far as production figures are concerned, the actual Aston Martin had much, much bigger production figures, but everybody wants the Aston Martin, not so much the 2CV that you've mentioned. So the Aston, even though they were more produced, has a much higher value. And from that period, you know, the late 1970s, a perfect, pristine boxed Aston Martin would be worth about £250.
So for people watching this now, they could have stuff up in their attic that they don't even know is there, and it could be worth a lot of money, couldn't it?
I know you're going to be straight up there, Robin, when we finish this interview, but because it is a bit like panning for gold. You know, you can look through your childhood toys, and to the untrained eye, quite often you think they're not worth very much, particularly with plastic toys from the 1950s, 1960s period. These are toys that were copies of Dinky's, Corgis, Matchbox toys, predominantly made in Hong Kong. Because they were made out of plastic, they didn't survive rough play at all, so they got damaged very quickly. So to find original plastic toys or plastic soldiers, they're the same. People think lead soldiers, metal soldiers are worth the most money. No, not at all. It's the plastic ones that were very easily damaged in play. They're the hardest ones to find. So to the untrained eye, it may look like you've just got a load of junk, but once we've looked at it, we're going to change your mind on that, and you could be sat on a few bob.
Now, I also have some Dick Tracy figures up in the attic from the 1989-1990 movie with Warren Beatty and Madonna. I think I have every single one of them. So are they worth something?
They would, Robin. You need to get those through our sale room. They turn up very, very irregularly, to be fair. It wasn't a popular line. They were discounted off, so you could have got them for very, very little money. That might be the case when you actually bought them. But yeah, we need to get those into the sale room for you. But as you can see, it's going to be very hard to prize them out of your hands.
Well, of course. Well, Julian, it's been great talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
That's all right, Robin. Absolute pleasure.
Right, let's have some more music now, and the Minnows are back with a new single from their album Californian Poppy. This is called Come Home Soon. So there we go, brand new music from the Minnows. That's called Come Home Soon. That's from their new album, which is out as well, called Californian Poppy. And I'm pleased to say that the Minnows drummer, Stephen O'Sullivan, joins us in the studio. How are you?
Yeah, good, Robin. Thanks.
Thank you for joining us. So we're loving the new single.
Oh, that's great. Thanks.
Tell us the story behind it.
It's really, I suppose I should let Michael answer that because he wrote the lyrics, but it's about love from a distance, long distance love. I think he wrote it for his wife, who he wasn't married to at the time, but he hasn't admitted that, but that's what we think it was for.
So it was about this time last year we had Michael in the studio. Obviously, sadly he couldn't be here today. He's a bit under the weather, isn't he?
Yeah, he's suffering a little bit, I think post-COVID, but he's brave, he'll get through it.
Brilliant. So the album that's from Californian Poppy, I love the title of the album, and I spoke to Michael about this last time he was on the show, but remind us where the title came from.
Well, Californian Poppy is a flower, but we actually thought the feel of those songs was kind of Americana. There was a certain indie American vibe to the whole album, so that kind of gives it a covering title that, you know, brings in all the songs and the general sound of the album. So yeah, really pleased with that.
Brilliant. Now, I played recently on the radio, I played Time Flies.
Okay.
And I dread to think how many years ago that song came out. How long ago was that?
It's 30 years ago. So it's actually a self-fulfilling prophecy, you know, that time does fly.
Yeah.
We can't believe it's that long ago. People still talk to us about it. People still want to hear it, so that's good. And we still play it, but yeah, it's crazy to think it's that long ago.
It's still a great radio song, and I even heard Terry Hooley was playing it on his show the other night on the radio. And of course, it was Terry that kind of started the whole process for you, wasn't it?
It was. Terry kind of had seen us play, liked us, was enthusiastic, wanted to push us, took our records to London, you know, told lots of people about us, probably annoyed people like yourself to play the single, and it worked. You know, he was a really good advocate and still is. So when you have people like Terry behind you, it makes a big difference, you know. So we were lucky with that, you know, and we still have a good relationship with Terry, so that's good.
Back then, did you ever imagine you'd still be making records 30 years later?
We didn't really think about it. You're right, I don't think we did, but we're still friends and we're still recording, as you can see, and you know, there's no plans to stop anytime soon, so that's good.
When I talk to people about the Minnows, and I don't know how you're going to take this, but I always say you're one of these bands who had the potential to make it really big and should have been really big, but it never really happened for you. Were you disappointed by that?
Yeah, I think it'd be false to say we weren't disappointed by certain things happening for us, but a lot of things are outside your control.
Yeah.
So you can let that kind of ruin everything, or you can just keep doing what you love, which is making music, and we're still doing that. So we don't measure it anymore by money or anything like that. We're measuring it by how good our songs are, you know, what we put into those songs, what sounds we might do, what things we might do next. So we are lucky in that sense. The success is that we're friends and we're still able to produce music 30 years later, and people are still listening, which is good.
What about live gigs? Any coming up?
Nothing planned, but we have done some rehearsals and we'd like to do live gigs. With COVID, it was kind of one of those things where we didn't quite know when we'd get the chance. So we kind of put that on the back burner and recorded some more material. And we are looking at it maybe towards the end of the year, but yeah, you'll probably be the first to know.
Brilliant. Yeah. Let us know as soon as that happens, and we'll let everybody else know. Of course, I mean, there's still a great music scene here in Belfast at the moment. And, you know, when you think about it, there really has been for the past 30 years. We have had a lot of great bands come out of Belfast, haven't we?
We have. I mean, there always seems to be a constant flow of creativity. I think that there's a dedication to songwriting, you know, doesn't stop. There's always new acts coming up. You look at some of the really successful acts, you know, Snow Patrol, etc. Brilliant. Yeah. And I think that that's not going to stop. You know, there's just this creative kind of vibe in the city that won't go away.
And do you always keep your eye on what's happening, what's new, what's current as well?
We try to, but obviously it's difficult. There's so much. But it's good for us to listen to new things. For example, tonight I'm going to see War on Drugs in Dublin, you know, a great American band who really have influenced us over the last couple of years. But you're always on the lookout for a new sound or something different, yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant stuff. Okay, I'm going to play another one of your songs now. I'm going to play the other one from the album that was out last year. It's called Where Have All the Good Times Gone? This was obviously written during the pandemic as well, wasn't it?
It was. It was kind of just reflective of the difficult times everyone was having, and hoping that would change. So yeah, the song, it received a lot of, what would you say, praise, because it captured that mood.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, Stephen, thank you for coming in and joining us.
Thanks,
and,
Robin.
The best of luck with the new single as well.
Thanks for your support. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's hope we can hear the Minnows back out on tour sometime very soon. But in the meantime, from the album Californian Poppy, here comes Where Have All the Good Times Gone?
Where were you when the sun went down? Where were you when the sky turned gray? Where were you when the band struck up the opening chords of another rainy day? Now there's one thing I know. I need you now. I need you now. I need you now, my darling. I remember when we were young, things were uncomplicated, life was fun. Thinking of ways just to spend our days, instead of wondering where have the good times gone. Now there's one thing I know. I need you now. I need you now. I need you now, my darling. If you say you don't want me, if you say you don't need me, if you say you don't miss me, if you say you don't love me, then I guess that it's time for me to say goodbye.
And that's all we have time for on the show this week. A big thank you to all of my guests, and I'll see you back same time next week. Bye-bye.